somebody will see me or find me. I will tell you that I will not be able to see comments during this because it is on my phone. So I'm kind of going to wait and see if I can see anybody show up or... All right, I'm just going to go ahead because it's going to tape it anyway. So great. So what we're doing tonight is the Filled with Fun stamp set and the Filled with Fun dies, which are some great dies. They actually have dies that are make the wagon and then cut out the various images, and has some extras, a heart, a couple of balloons. So we're using that. And like I said, I have looked at this since March or April and thought that I wanted it. However, I didn't order it until Stampin' Up! Came out with a supplement one filled with cheer, which, who doesn't like a little cute snowman? So I went ahead and bought the bundle. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you first my first card, and the first card really is basic stamping. And I didn't do anything too special, but I wanted just to show you how it works. So I have a piece of 8.5 by 11, cut in half, 5.5 by 5.5 by 8.5, folded at 4 1/4. And then I have a piece of basic white that's cut 4 by 5 1/4. And I'm going to use Memento ink and also some red ink on here. Stick around to the end though, because the last project to me is the cutest. I'm going to stamp the wagon to begin with. So it's a photopolymer, so I can see clearly see what we've got going on here. I'm going to use red ink. For my wagon. Stamp this down. And then I'm going to come in with the stamp of the presents. Let me grab, so here's one, something to wipe this off with. I got a little ink on the edges and I don't want to mess up my stamping. So I'm going to go ahead and ink up with the Memento ink the presents. And I might get my head in the way here because I just want to make sure you can line this up pretty easily because they're see-through. But I need to be right over the top of it, otherwise I can't really see what I'm doing. All right, so there is the presents, and then you're going to come in with do some wheels. So as you can see, this one is just straight stamping, getting everything in its place. I'm going to do the words too. I'll do the whole thing. I don't really like where I colored with that green. I wanted to give that wagon so that it didn't look like it was standing in the air. And then after I did it, I kind of was like, I don't know if I like it, but oh well. You can't like everything you stamp. And whoever I send this to is going to love it. Stamp my sentiment. I do like the different fonts in that sentiment. And then when I colored this one, I actually used blends. And I used Daffodil. I'm just going to shut these. Because it's warm out today. Montana is a dry state. So ink pads dry out quickly. And I've got a fan going. All right, so when I colored this one, I just wanted to do some basic coloring. I didn't want to be anything too fancy, so I just picked 3 colors. Blends are nice because you get the dark and the light, so you actually get 6 colors. I didn't do a whole lot of blending with this. I just went straight coloring, and so I like to use the bullet point too. So I just colored, and one of the things I like about blends and coloring is you don't get any lines. So your lines for your coloring blend into each other and you get a nice solid color, if that's what you want. You could take more time, and I'll show you on my next card. I actually did go through and do some blending, and I probably won't show the whole blending, but I'll show a lot of it. just so you can see. Oh. And then on this one, I just did the stripes, 2 different colors of yellow. I stuck with primary colors because it's easy from that color wheel. We talked about the color wheel before, and I am still contemplating doing some kind of a, I don't know, a class or something, a training, some night maybe. As soon as I figure out what I did with my computer setup that was working so well. So there, I just did, and then I'm going to do the flag too. And this is actually dark daffodil. And I personally like the bullet point because I have a little bit more control over where that ink is going. It does bleed out a lot. Oh wait, we need to do the candles. On my candles too, I probably would add a little bit of sparkle to them. So whether it be Wink Estella or a little bit of the glitter glue bottles. We got one in a paper pumpkin, I think, and it, you know, they last forever. So I'm sure I have it sitting around here somewhere. But as you can see, I am just doing some straight coloring. And I'm not going to finish it because you guys want to see something else. So I just attached that to real red cardstock. I'll probably put a piece of white on the inside and stamp maybe something on the inside too. But that's super easy. Oh, and I did the handle. So there's a handle stamp too to do your handle. Super easy card. All right, the next card's a little bit more stepped up. So this one, this one I did the die cut wagon, and I just think it's so cute. I did the wood pieces in pecan, and actually did, you know, the wheels are each separately, and then a pearl in there. So let me show that one. So for this card, again, I'm using a real red base, same base as last time. So it's 8.5 by 5.5, folded at 4 1/4. And then I've got, looks like I cut this a little off. Oh well. So I've got 4 by 5 1/4, and then this one should be 3 3/4 by 5. Just took me a minute. All right, and so to start with on this one, I used, you see my little pile over here? Those are all the pieces I've already die cut. So I tried to speed up tonight a little bit by doing all the die cutting this afternoon. But like I said, I have a lot of projects to make with those die cuts, so stick around. All right, so I'm just using some balmy glue and a little small blending brush. And I'm actually gonna tap this off on my paper. If I didn't have this paper over, and then I'm just gonna smear it on my cardstock. And you probably can't see that much of it, but it kind of grounds the project. So it looks like a sky. It's really simple. I'm gonna push this up there. Hopefully you can see it better. I don't know. I hope it's working. I know that people are watching, so that's a good thing. All right. We're going to set that aside. Oh, I stamped the words again at the top. There are other words too, but something about the wagon piled up with, oh, I don't want to lose any pieces, piled up with presents. So the die cuts. So you get the wagon, you get the wood piece, you get 2 wheels. So you can cut those at the same time. 2 of the inside parts for the wheels. 1 handle. So that's what I need for this particular project. I'm going to use the small dimensionals in black and just add them along this piece of wood. And I just did the 1 piece of wood because you don't really need it on both. And we'll add this onto my wagon. Okay. And then I'm going to, oh, I need to stamp. I suppose I could put these together so they're not. Let's put these wheels together. We're actually going to add the wheels onto the card base. So I'm just using mini glue dots. Because they work great and I don't get glue all over my fingers when I'm dealing with these small things. So there's my wheels and there's my handle. All right, so on this piece, we're gonna take the presents again. And this time I'm actually gonna do some blending using the same colors. And you can just see the difference that you get. I'm inking this up with Memento. Stamping it down. I'm gonna use the same colors. So when I'm doing blending with blends, when I'm coloring with blends, I personally usually start with the dark color first and I work towards with the light. So like on this real red, I would start with the dark and I would put dark wherever there would be a shadow. And honestly, nobody's going to like hold it up and say, that's not where the shadow would be. So once I do the dark, then I just fill it in with the light. And if I see a line, which I do on this one, I'm actually going to come in and just blend it out a little bit more. And you get the shadow. Let me show you better on the bow here. Maybe the bow will show up better. So we have some lines here, so we know that that's going to be darker. We know that this inside of the bow is going to be darker. And we know that underneath here is going to be darker. Right? And then you're going to come in with the light. And the nice thing about blends is that you can always add. I prefer to color a smaller space and blend it than, you know, color all of my red throughout the whole thing, because then it dries and it's harder to blend it. And then if you want it to be a little bit darker, just hit it again with that dark. And remember that as it dries, it spreads out a little bit. Color this. I don't even know if you guys can actually see the blending, but it does make it, I mean, it looks different. Let's do the banner, because I think that really shows. So on the banner, I would do the tips, and I would do this dark, because I think this is kind of waving, so it's a little bit lighter. Color that in with the light. And then blend in those edges. And it kind of gives dimension to that, where it looks like it's dark, light, like it's waving in the wind. That one showed up good. I really liked how I did the cake. I did a little differently then, so I just went through and did dark underneath the frosting. And literally I did every layer because I really don't want that dark to dry, because it's harder to blend. Put in the light and then just run over a little bit more over the line. And then you get the shading. So you're going to put dark under the icing and then light on the rest, and then go over the dark line with the light, and that will just blend it out a little bit more. Super easy. I mean, you know, you can get as complicated as you want with blends. I just prefer not to get too complicated, because I really don't have a whole lot of time. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead on these little things of frosting here, I'm assuming, and just do the dark yellow. We'll color in the, and then we're going to come in with shaded spruce. Oh, I should really keep that covered. All right, shaded spruce. Again, do the same thing. So we're going to do the bow, We're going to start with this bow here. So this would, the inside of the bow would be darker. Closer to the middle would be darker. Underneath the bow part would be darker. And then come in with the light, color in the rest. And then if you want, go back in and just go right over your line a little bit more. It'll blend it out. So the nice thing about blends is that, oh, I didn't do the middle, is every layer is a different shade. So, you know, you do the dark, and then you do the light, and then you go light again over the lines. It just makes it a shade darker than the light. Does that make sense? Probably not. It makes sense in my head. That's the scary part. So depending on how many layers of ink you put on, you know, you can make lots of shades of shaded spruce by layering color on top of color. We're going to do this bow a little bit yellow. So the insides would always be darker. And then come in with the light. And then just go right over you'll see the line where the blends meet up, and do it one more time, and then you get that blended look. I'm going to just color this just for, oops, I don't always use the brush ends. And maybe it's just I don't know. To me, that I don't have a lot of control over it. Makes me a little nervous. So I'm just going to color those in. All right, so there is, oh, and we'll do the frosting. Try to get my Stampin' Up! Also has shading on their images. So if you look at the frosting on this cake, these are a little bit darker. And you can, or you don't have to. Put a little bit of dark in there, and then just come back in and blend that out so that you don't have lines. There. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I'm not doing a whole lot of cutting out tonight because I already cut out. However, grab the die. You're gonna lay the die on there. Now I like to use the Post-it tape with my dies. It's awesome and it lasts forever. So I just have, so I line that up where I want it. I put the Post-it tape on there. After I die cut this, I usually save the Post-it tape because it can be used for lots of die cutting. And I'm gonna go over here and cut while I talk. But you can reuse it, reuse it. Like I will have a couple of strips of Post-it tape that I'll use for several days. But I do like it because it keeps those dies in place and they don't move on you, which is something that happens to me frequently. Okay, so there is the die cut presents. Now we're gonna go ahead and put this together. Let's start by putting this on here. I'm just gonna, to make my card more symmetrical, let me just go quick trim that off. I'm sure somewhere I had a wrong measurement. So there we go. All right, so there's that. Then I'm gonna take my presents here and some of these little dimensionals. I don't need a lot, but I did want them to be popped up a little bit because it gives such good dimension to the card. I love these black dimensionals. So these black dimensionals come as 2 different kinds. You get the minis and you get the regular size in the pack. All right, so I already did this wagon piece, and I'm going to add some dimensionals to this. I got a little carried away here. This wagon is so stinking cute. And then slide that down on there. You can see how I'm building this card. Now I'm gonna put some dimensionals on my wheels. I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the handle. I'll put a little glue here too. You have to be careful with liquid glue because it has a tendency to squirt out pretty fast. Find a place where I don't have a dimensional, and I'm just going to add the handle on. Take my real red cardstock, flip this over, add some glue. Oh, look, I got glue up there. Add that onto my card base, and then I'm going to use some of these. What are they? Smoky slate and basic gray pearls. And these are going to be for the inside of my wheels. Just gives it just a little bit more. But how cute is that? I just love that card. I love the wagon. I love everything about it. All right, next, we're going to do a card. Oh, what did I do with it? Oh, I guess it is on red. All right, so this one's a red card base too. All of these were on red card bases. A little bit more coloring, a little bit more stamping. All right, so on this one, we're going to use the flowers this time. And we're going to make something different with the wagon pieces. Not all of them. So I put the flowers on my stamp, ink it up with Memento, stamp that down. And then I'm going to do another set. Ink that up and stamp that down. All right, so I colored these. Oh, I have to do one more stamping thing. I have to do this one. So I'm not going to make you watch me color all those flowers because that would take a long time. This is my card base. I'm going to stamp this sentiment at the bottom. I'm going to color both of the flowers the same. I'm going to cut these flowers out with the die that comes with the set. And then this is all going to get attached onto a red base. And then when I'm done, I'm going to take my wood piece for my wagon and make it a picket fence. And how cute is that card? So you can see the flowers, the ones that are stamped on the card, and then the ones that are over the base. So I wanted them to shine through at the top, and I wanted them to come through the fence. But when I did it the first time, I didn't have enough flowers. I mean, I wanted the flowers to be higher. So that's where I stamped them and then cut out another one and then did a fence. Cute card. And again, I just colored these all with the light. So I used the light shaded spruce, the light real red, and the light daffodil. Did not do any blending. Just wanted it to be something super simple. So there's that card. All right. Now, the next thing, we are going to take a couple pieces of red cardstock. Now this piece is 4.5 by 3.5. And on this piece, you're going to score each side at 7/8. scoot your cutter away so that you don't cut it. So 7/8 and score, and 7/8 and score, and 7/8 and score, and 7/8 and score. Then you're going to take this piece, which is 3/4 of an inch across by 2 1/4. This one is going to get scored, and this is probably the hardest one because the piece is so little. So 1/4 of an inch on all 4 sides. So 1/4 of an inch, and then flip it, 1/4 of an inch, quarter of an inch. These are actually going to be axles for the wagon. We're going to do another piece exactly the same size, 3/4 of an inch by 2 1/4. We're going to score it at 1/4 of an inch on all 4 sides. Now you can see why I cut all the pieces apart so I could make this cute little project. All right, once you've done that, you're going to grab a scissor and you're going to cut down on that score line in there. And I actually cut just a tiny wedge out. That just helps with bulk. It makes it easier to square up the axle. And then do the same on this side. Hardest part is making sure you're in the score line. It might be better to fold your score lines and then cut so you can actually see, but same thing with this one. And do the same thing on this side. And then pull out those wedges. Maybe, there we go. All right, so on this one, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to cut up, and I wedge out just a small bit on those flaps. And you're going to do this side. I hope I'm in the camera. That's the hard part about doing it on your phone. You don't really know if you're on the camera. You hope that you are. All right. All right, so once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and put this together, and then I'll do the rest of the pieces. So you're just going to fold it on your score lines. And this piece, we're actually going to glue. So we're going to put glue on this flap and this flap. And then pull that up, square it up on both sides. Hold it for a minute. It doesn't take long for that glue to set up enough to let go of it. Sometimes people, I suppose I don't have to put the cover on every time. Some people will like paper clip it, or if I got a little clothespin, just to hold it till it dries, but I usually pinch it long enough that it sticks, and then hopefully set it aside to dry. The nice thing about multi-purpose glue is you do have a little bit of time to move those things around if you have them and they're not squared up. So there's your bottom of your thing. Now the axles, we're going to fold them also on the score lines. Basically do the same thing, only I'm going to do it with mini glue dots, which I thought I had out on the table here. Oh yeah, here they are. So I'm not using glue on this because I did glue with this earlier, and I had glue on all my fingers. So I'm putting same thing on here. Make sure that the dot is actually on that little post or on that tab. And so then you're going to fold these up just like a little box. Seems kind of fussy, but wait till you see what it makes. So cute. I will put pictures up too on my website with the directions, score lines and sizes and whatnot. I kept the cards fairly simple because I really wanted to show this. So there's the first one. You can do the same thing with this one. Open this up, put a glue dot on each tab. Make sure that it's actually on there. And then fold these in. It's fussy, but it's worth it. I gotta fix this one because it's not. It's a broken axle. Oops. We'll get a glue dot that doesn't. There we go. All right. So you can see why if I was using that green glue, I would have it on every finger, and then every finger would stick to everything else. All right, so there's those pieces. I'm gonna need this. We're gonna take the sides of the wagon. I'm gonna put adhesive on them. And we're going to attach these onto our little box here so that the top, you know, goes right across the top up there. Leaves a nice look. And then make sure when you do the other side that you're actually putting the glue on the back of the die cut because it looks better. Although somebody probably wouldn't look very close anyway. Oh, good thing we have this green glue that moves around. So you're going to do that on both sides of your little wagon. Then you're going to take these axles and you're going to put green glue along the flat edge. And this is actually going to get glued on the bottom. And I'll show you here in, whoops. See, that's why I like to use mini glue dots, because it doesn't get all over. All right, so I've got those on there. You can actually see the wheel wells on here, so you kind of have an idea of where it needs to be on both sides to keep it straight. And then more glue. Attach it to your box in those wheel wells, and then let that sit for a minute, because then you're going to come in with, well, here, we'll set up our wheels. So we need 4 wheels, 2 and 4 inside wheels. All right. Again, we're going to use the glue dots. We're going to put a glue dot on the wheel inner and put it onto the wheel. That. And that. And that. Oops. There. All right, so once we've done that, we are going to then attach, we're going to go ahead and use glue dots with this, because I used the green glue this afternoon and I had a major mess going on. So I'm going to put my scissor under there and just give it a little bit of pressure to make sure that it's attached. So I'm just pulling it off on my finger, putting it on there. Couldn't do this with glue. And then attaching your wheel so that it's by the wheel well. And do that on all 4 sides. So stinking cute. And the fourth one. All right, so then we have the wood, the pieces of wood that I want to put on my wagon too. So 2 of them are going to go on each side because they fit perfectly. So we'll just set 2 aside. These other 2, what we're going to do is you're going to line this up so that you can see that it, you know, the hole's there, everything's there. And then you're going to cut this one right where that top one ends, and then you're going to flip it over and you're going to do the same thing on this side and cut that off. The issue that you're going to have, now you have the front and the back, is that on some of these, like this one here, I think you can see how the wood grain gets cut, and so you have some wood grain that's kind of flapping. No big deal. It's okay. What you're going to do is you're going to take a dimensional and you're going to put it on there. And if you want to fix this one, I liked my wood slats to be up higher on my wagon. I liked them up so that they were up higher. I don't know why. You don't have to. They could go down and be just fine. Be cute. So we're going to go ahead and put dimensionals on our wood slats. And then this one too needs to have one. Well, that one's pretty good. All right. So then you're just going to add your wood onto your little box. And really all you want to do is make sure as you go around that they are the same height. This one here, I'm going to leave that on there because I want that really just to hold that slat together, and this way it won't be a sticky mess when I give this to somebody or just admire it from my workstation. All right, so you see we're making a wagon. Okay, so the last thing we have is the handles, and I cut 2 because I wanted to give it a little more oomph, and it's easier to mount it onto the wagon. So I'm going to go ahead and add some green glue. And on this one, you can see I'm putting green glue, but I'm only going like a halfway mark on here. Oh gosh, I hope I'm in the camera. So once I've done that, I just line those up. And then I'm going to kind of pinch this off just with my fingers, and I'm going to actually bend those back. I could actually bend them back even farther if I wanted to. And that's how I'm going to attach that to the front of my wagon. I think I'll use glue dots. The nice thing about glue dots is you can roll them up so they don't have to be flat. You can just roll them up and put it into the area exactly where you need it. I'm going to attach this on to my little wagon. And then we will add some little silver pearls to the inside of my wheels. Ta-da! And then you can fill it with candy. You could actually stamp some images and have it on there if you wanted to make it, you know, even a little bit higher. But that's it. That's cute. All right, so I will put the pictures and the video up on my website. Probably shortly after this, so that I get it done tonight. And sorry about the confusion tonight. I hope that some people did find me, I see. And I will share this in my, I guess if I look closely. All right. Anyway, cute cards though. They turned out so stinking cute. And I know that this little wagon was fussy, but it was cute, and I can't wait to play with my Christmas stamps and make them little Christmas wagons. So anyway, I hope you guys have a good night. Take care, and thanks for stopping, and thanks for putting up with me. I'll figure out what I did wrong eventually. Take care and have a good night.